The scenes that you have seen and the scenes which will follow depict lives of settlers of the second settlement of St. Thomas. The scene you are about to see is of the first settlement of St. Thomas in 1871. These people were just as faithful in their beliefs, and they endured many hardships. However, this experience will show you a different set of trials they encountered.
We'll begin the meeting. We welcome Mr. Isaac James of Lincoln County and his traveling companion, Captain Monroe of the United States Cavalry. As all of you know, there's been a misunderstanding as to which state or territory we belong to, the state of Nevada, Utah, or Arizona territories. It's no secret that as a group we had hoped to belong to the Utah territory. However, since the federal government survey just recently completed, we find we're part of the state of Nevada. This automatically dissolves the Rio Virgin County of Utah territories. We are officially part of Lincoln County, Nevada. Because we don't know the tax rate of Nevada and Lincoln County, we have with us Mr. Isaac James, Chairman of the Board of County Officials of Lincoln County. He will explain the statutory procedures for those of us belonging to the muddy settlements. I now turn the meeting over to Isaac James.
Before we begin, I'd like to express appreciation to my fellow traveler, Captain Monroe. He's here to make sure that things are carried out according to the law. I'd also like to recognize your articulate leader of the now defunct Rio Virgin County, Mr. Daniel Stark. Let me also praise you for the accomplishments you brought here to the Muddy Settlement. I had occasion to come through here some time back, and I thought then that the land was fit only for lizards and mosquitoes. But I see that Mormons can survive here as well. Well, let's get down to what this meeting is all about. It is hereby declared, hold on a second here. It is hereby declared that the tax rate of Lincoln
Mr.
County,
James?
Nevada.
I really think it won't be necessary for you to read the legal language of the statute. Most of these people would understand better if you just explain to them in ordinary terms what's expected of them.
Yes, I'm sure they would, wouldn't they? Well, okay, gentlemen, the law boils down to simply this. The tax rate is levied at 2.58 mils, plus a stamp tax, plus a license tax, plus a $4 poll tax. This tax is to be retroactive from 1866. All tax transactions must be on a coin basis. Goods in kind will not be acceptable. Those failing to comply with the law will have their property confiscated. Well, that's about it. Any questions? Oh, one other thing. While I'm here, I will assess the value of your properties and post tax notices in various locations so that everyone will know their duty. After all, taxes are the price we pay for reasonable and sound government.
Good sir, just give me the excuse I need to pick up and pull out.
That's too bad, sir. Seems a shame to leave all of this work, but that's your right.
Mr. James, do you officials realize at that tax rate, along with the retroactive rider, we will pay more in tax than this land is worth?
That may very well be true. But you can't expect tax privileges above all the other people living in Lincoln County. Now that wouldn't be fair, would it? You could apply to the state legislature for help. That's what the Mormons of the Meadow Valley settlement plan to do. But in the meanwhile, taxes are due. Now. Cash on the barrelhead, as they say.
But why won't you give us some time? Why won't you accept goods as payment? All these people have for coin are these worthless pieces of octagonal lead that we use for bartering purposes among ourselves.
Very interesting. Octagonal pieces of lead. No, that's not going to do you much good. We did consider accepting goods in kind, but frankly, we're just not prepared to deal with that sort of thing. And besides, who knows what kind of condition those goods would be in by the time they reach PO. So, now we ruled out that option.
But we could transport wheat and barley easily,
Yeah.
without damage or spoilage.
Yeah.
This is nothing but a plot, a conspiracy to drive us out of our settlement.
I assure you, sir, this is no plot. This is the law.
Do you realize you will be driving honest, hard-working people from homes they've paid a dear to create? And for what? You'll end up getting nothing from us. And Lincoln County will lose valuable communities. Captain, do you think this is right?
My opinion doesn't matter. I'm here to see that order is kept and the law upheld.
Thank you, Captain. About your statement, Mr.
Thomas, Orson Thomas.
Mr. Thomas. The hardworking people, that may very well be true. But honest and decent, that remains to be seen. If you pay your taxes. As far as paying your taxes, they're due now. Cash on the barrelhead.
Can we petition the state to see what they'll do before we have to pay?
You sound just like the Meadow Valley Mormons. No! Who knows how long that will take? Lincoln County needs funds to operate now.
That's hogwash. What we pay won't matter whether the county survives or not. What will matter is whether we pay.
So be it.
You don't seem to get the point, Mr. James. We're talking our land, our homes. 7 long years of heartache and struggle. The final word is, we can't pay what you're asking.
Can't pay, Mr. Stark? Or do you mean won't pay?
Do you politicians have any brains, or are they all bigoted, egotistical jackasses like yourself?
I won't stay here and be insulted.
Oh, yes, you will. You're not going anywhere till I'm through with you.
Mr. Stark, I'm afraid I'll have to adjourn this meeting. I'll not stand for this kind of behavior.
You stay out of this, Captain. I have a thing or two to say to Isaac James. I judge you to be a fair man, considering the consequences of the ultimatum given here. I should have the right to speak what's on my mind.
Well, all right, but let's control ourselves. You too, Mr. James.
Sure. Seems to me like enough's been said already. But go ahead and have your little say, Mr. Stark. We'll make you feel better.
It may not make me feel better, but it'll give me a chance to cinch the hell and arrogance out of your conscience.
That'll do, Mr. Stark.
Let him speak. He's our representative. He has the right to say something.
Yeah.
Daniel, anger will not help.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it'll make things worse.
Bishop, let him speak.
We'd like to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know what this Mormon sodbuster has to say.
You said you could recollect what this valley was like before we came here? Well, I don't think you remember too well, so let me refresh your memory. When we arrived here in 1865, destitute and half-starved, all that greeted us were mosquito-infested swamps, ground destitute of timber or grass, stifling heat and hot winds. That doesn't sound too bad, does it, Mr. James? Except some of us leaving everything behind, moving our families, shoved and pushed by people like you for more than 30 years. And I, for one, am sick. I said sick, Mr. James, of doing it. 7 long years of hell to eke out a living and worship as we believe. Sickness, exhaustion, and tragedies, loved ones dead and buried in sandy graves. We've expended the equivalent of more than $100,000 in labor in constructions of dams and irrigation canals. We've been compelled to feed an Indian population outnumbering our own. We've cleared and planted more than 700 acres, of which 200 are planted in grain right now. We've dug more than 20 miles of irrigation canals, and when the wind and sand filled them in, we dug them again. We've harvested nearly 100,000 pounds of cotton for our own sustenance. We've planted planted vineyards and orchards, hauled timbers from mountain ranges over 40 miles of some of the roughest country around, just to build a decent shelter we can call home. All we want is peace and the opportunity to fulfill our responsibility to our church and families. And not one single penny's worth of help came from any government, local, federal, or whatever. And you have the unmitigated gall to face this group of honest, God-fearing men and say we must pay taxes to support good local government? The world is full of parasites, Mr. James, but your kind is the worst. You know why? Because your kind doesn't just drain us of our hard-earned resources. Your kind drains the vitality and heart out of all we try to do. But you don't care. As soon as you kill one group, you'll move on to the next. The saints of Meadow Valley better beware. They're next. You'll suck the marrow from their bones just like you're doing to us. We can endure all types of misery the elements dish out to us, Mr. James. But you and your kind of misery is the rot that destroys us. You're corrupt, you're bigoted, you're egotistical, you're unfeeling. You're the real swamp and outlier of this wasteland, Mr. James.
He's got fired up!
You gullible Mormon. You don't stand there and insult me. You and your cotton and Brigham Young and your cause. I won't stand for it. You're all a pack of gullible fools. You're right about one thing, Mr. Stark. We tried to tell you what county, what state you were in, but you had to go form your real virgin county and then stand around and hope that you were in the Utah territory. But you were right about the one thing, Mr. Stark. I don't care what happens to you. You can go back to Utah, or you can rot in hell for all I care. It might make this place fit for some real settlers.
Just one more thing, Mr. James. I want you to know that the likes of you will not bluff me out of here. I will never leave. I'll fight you or whoever comes after you to my last breath. If I go down, then I go down. But as long as I have 1 ounce of life left in me, I'll fight. I want you to take one good look at this house, because this is my home.